So how's business? How's Porter? How's Connor?
Everybody's good. Business is good. It's this time of year it gets busy. So what we expect.
Nice. Tell me a bit about that specific business. Tell me a bit about your career. Where did you come from? Um, and then now you essentially led to Pioneer Foods.
Sure. So Pioneer, the company that we have now, actually, my father started when I was in high school, and I started working with him in high school, and then up through my young adult years, and then, um, well, I worked for him from probably 1987, 88 until 2004 is when I started at my own company called Freezing Point. Freezing Point, we created a frozen beverage called Frazzle that sold primarily in convenience stores. And between 2004 and the time I sold the company in 2020, we grew it to about 8,000 locations selling Frazzle in convenience stores. And I always told myself my intent from starting the big company in the beginning was to sell it someday.
Hmm.
And so I always told myself once I got to be the number one frozen beverage in the convenience store industry, then I'd put it up for sale. And so that's what we did. And so we sold the company in 2020. But I maintained in 2007, I actually bought Pioneer Family Brands from my dad. Um, my company was doing better than his company, I guess, and he was ready to retire. And so he coerced me into buying it. And that's still what we're running today. But yeah, so I've been, you know, always been in the frozen beverage. It's always flavor related on my entire career. Um, and so Pioneer today sells flavors to Tropical Snow is the brand. And these little shave ice micro entrepreneurs that are running a little shave ice stand for a summertime business. And
Yeah.
so
Let Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I want you to unpack the business concept a little bit more. I found it very interesting. Exactly how you guys frame it in essence, business in a box, right? Just tell us a little bit more about like exactly how the business model works.
Yeah, so I guess the legal structure would be a dealership. So we don't have control over our customers the same as you would as a franchise, but we do have control over our branding and the product that's sold with the brand. So in a real simple form, what we do is we license our customers to use the Tropical Snow brand, and in return, they agree to buy all their flavors from us. Um, Trademark law basically allows me to control the nature and quality of the product that is sold with our trademark. And so, we provide a lot of guidance to our people as far as how to make the product, but I don't
Mhm.
give them a lot of direction or mandates on how to run their business, when to open, when to close, all those types of things like a franchise would. And
Right.
so we're kind of a hybrid because we're giving them a proven product that we know works and sells if they make it the right way, but then we're giving them some of their own entrepreneur leeway to have their first crack at running, a small business. And so,
Right. And for anyone that doesn't know what tropical snow is, how do you find that?
so most people would refer to tropical snow as Hawaiian shaved ice because that's where most people get familiar with shaved ice is by going on
Hmm.
vacation to Hawaii. And of course, it's a traditional product in Hawaii. It was That's kind of where we started. In fact, we had the original developer of our flavors had gone on their honeymoon to Hawaii, came back and said, "I can make a better product than what they have in Hawaii," and so we started developing flavors, and and then basically just for a long time we called it Hawaiian shaved ice. Now the brand is strong enough that everybody just refers to it as tropical snow. But
Good. Good. Very cool. I want to backtrack a little bit to your first successful exit. We're going to speak about learnings a lot at the end, but I want to understand now with regards to that, what was that learning that you took away from obviously being in business with your dad and then selling that venture and exiting? What is like the main theme that you think you learned and that you also could apply to this venture?
Well, we're in an interesting industry because a lot of my competitors, they focus on how cheap they can make it. And our focus has always been the opposite. We've always said we'll focus on how good we can make it. So the thing that's really carried us through and made us successful in both companies is just the quality of our flavors. Most of my competitors will source their flavor ingredients from one or two, ingredient suppliers. And we've never really gone down that road. We've always said, look, we'll try everybody's flavor from multiple suppliers. So we buy from like 30 different flavor houses, different flavor ingredients from them. But again, it's just our philosophy. We're not worried about trying to make it cheap, but we're worried first about making it taste good, because we know if it tastes good, then the customer's going to come back and buy more of it. And
Right.
so that's really where we put our focus.
So would you say your general philosophy is quality over quantity? Is that the theme about on these two ventures? Like, is that
For sure. Yeah.
okay?
A lot of people with, especially like tropical snow, or the traditional US would call it a snow cone, and they're only successful if they can get into a fair or a festival where they have a captive audience, where people don't have any choice. But the majority of our customers are setting up in a little grocery store parking lot, or somewhere in a small town America, and they're relying on the locals to come back multiple times a week to buy tropical snow. So to do that, it's got to taste good, and your presentation has to be good, and the way you make it has to be good. And so that's really where we put all of our emphasis.
Got you. Very cool. We're going to circle back again to the art of business, if you will. Let's quickly go more operational. I think when I got introduced to you and started speaking with you, I believe you guys were on SAP, and you use that for ERP. How long were you using SAP, and were you also using SAP in the first venture?
Yeah, so we started using SAP Business One in, I'd say 2000, early 2000s. For sure, we were using it by 2004. I know when I started Freezing Point. And so we're a little bit unique because for most people, for SAP, we're pretty small. But we manufacture 40 different flavors, and they all have a unique, bill of materials, and we wanted to have something that was robust that could help us with manufacturing. And back in the day, then SAP came out with Business One, and it seemed to be one that filled the void. And so before that, we were using actually a product called Mass 90. We migrated from Mass 90 to SAP Business One, and then used that up until just recently when we started using Cin7 and the new tech stack with you guys. So
okay, it's interesting. I typically don't hear good feedback from small businesses on SAP, but you all actually did a good job, in my opinion. I felt like you were pretty comfortable with SAP and got the data that you wanted, and I mean, you were on it for 20 years, maybe even a little bit more. So it was all in all a good experience. But what was that one thing, or that decision that made you think, wow, it's time for something else? And then also, when you made that decision, I'm curious to understand, how did you approach the R&D, the research and development, well, probably more just research of the different tools available?
Yeah, so I mean, really what led us to it is I had my president of the company and my controller both leave at the same time. The controller retired after working for 35 plus years for me, and then president of the company went to pursue some of his own interests there. And so I was kind of at a crossroads where I'm like, okay, do I go out and do I hire people who know SAP, which then I learned that was going to be pretty difficult. And then I kind of went down a few different roads. I thought, well, one, do I go hire people to replace these guys and have to find people that are knowledgeable fairly knowledgeable in accounting and knowledgeable in SAP and how it works? Or do I try to outsource that stuff. And so in the beginning, I started looking and interviewing companies to outsource the accounting, still using SAP. But all the outsource people I talked to said, well, if we're going to do it outsourced through SAP, then we've got to go hire people who know SAP to outsource it, which is going to be expensive also. And so all the outsource companies that I talked to kept saying, you need to possibly look at doing something different. And so then that kind of opened my eyes to I will say, these new modern tech stacks that are out there, which frankly, I didn't really even know that they existed until then people started recommending, saying, well, you should look at these different, tech stacks. And as we do nowadays, I just started searching on the internet and making a list and started demoing all of them. And, the thing is, we were, for most small businesses, we were used to a robust system that, we could do bill of materials and track all of our inventory and do all that. And so we wanted something that would fill that void. I didn't want to take a total step backwards to tracking things in spreadsheets and, using QuickBooks. And so we started just demoing, a bunch of different products.
Do you recall, what was your top 3?
Gosh, I don't even remember now, Pierre.
That's okay.
Because we demoed quite a few of them.
Yeah, that's fine. But can you remember what was the reason why you selected Cin7?
Well, I'll be honest with you. A big part of that was your team and Fiskal, because obviously anytime you're going to implement a new tech stack, it takes a lot of time. And you guys came highly recommended through Cin7. And so that was a big part of it. We believed that Cin7 could do what we wanted it to do, but then we also gained confidence when you traveled out and met with me in person. And we got to know each other there. And then I just felt like that you guys were a good fit. There's sometimes actually I'd say to Porter, I said, am I crazy? I mean, we've just outsourced all of our accounting to a company that's based out of South Africa, and we don't know, them, but it's been, everything up till now has been great. So
great. I appreciate that. I also like to say, when I speak to prospects about this whole thing, I like to tell them that I feel like the software partner, the service partner of the software, is almost more important than the software itself, because there are so many good tools out there. Like, obviously we have our preferred tech stack and the ones that we committed to and the ones that we feel like we understand well enough to succeed in. But there are others, right? And those ones can also work out, but you need someone that understands it. You need someone that understands the holistic environment that you're essentially putting together here. Because to your point, something like SAP was one branded, one consultant understands the nature of SAP. In this case, it's, how many different tools do we have plugged in now, right? It's your WooCommerce website. We have Cin7, we have Xero, which we'll speak about in a sec. We've got Ramp, we've got Gusta for payroll. I'm not even sure if there's something else, but that's 5 different tools that we essentially substituted for SAP. So for me, the big thing is like someone that understands all of that put together. That's really what I try to preach, if you will, and educate.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't even imagine us trying to do it without you guys. I think the task would have been daunting. And one, we would have made a lot of mistakes and then have to try to fix things. But, as with anything, there's always little glitches, but we basically had our plan to go live on the beginning of our new fiscal year, and everything's, for the most part, worked pretty good. There's been a few glitches, but nothing that's like a game changer or shut anything down. It's just things that we have to tweak along the way to fix the processes.
Yeah. No, thanks for the kind words. Appreciate it. Yeah, again, it's not implementing Cin7 in your case, it's a business transformation, right? There's a lot of different things that's happening, and I think, to your point, there is going to be small nickels along the way, right? Things are going to fall over, but then again, having someone that's alongside you and that has probably an attitude of we'll make it work, I think is critical. Something else that I found really interesting, and I spoke to you about that just before we started this call, was And I actually told my business partners this about you, was I found it really interesting how quickly you trusted us with not only the implementation of Cin7 and the business transformation, but also being open to outsourcing your finance function. And you just touched on, you had a controller for that many years. What is it about your decision-making process, or the way you think about things, that essentially made you open to that decision?
I don't know. I think a lot of it comes from just business experience in general. I think the draw, or perhaps one of the downfalls of entrepreneurs, is that we are slow to make decisions. And what I've learned over my career is that I always end up making the decision eventually and wishing, oh, I wish I would have made that decision sooner. And so I think what I've learned over the years of experience is just to trust my gut. And if my gut feels like it's the right thing to do, just do it, and do it immediately, and don't drag my feet. Because what I've found is I've done that in the past and I end up at the same place, but I just wasted a bunch of time. And so once I felt the confidence that, okay, this will work, and, really, and I've mentioned this to your team, is that I really just looked at you guys as an employee. And I said, okay, yeah, they're outsourced, but I'm going to treat them just like an employee, as if I had an employee, in my office. And so if there's something that I see that's working good, I'm going to tell them. And if there's something I see that, there's a little hiccup in our process, then I'm going to tell them that too, so that we can fix it. And you guys have been really good at not thinking, oh, we know how to do this and this is the way we're going to do it, but been very open to any, constructive criticism that I have given or might give. But to me, it's really, I don't know, Dave Ramsey says that the curse of the entrepreneur is we spend so much time aiming the gun and we're scared to pull the trigger. But what I've learned is that the quicker I pull the trigger, then the happier I am, and the more I can then say, okay, now I've checked that off and I can move forward and focus on the things that really I'm good at, and let somebody else take the stuff that they're good at.
Yes, I like that. It's essentially experimenting, iterating, and then just seeing how it plays out, and then making wrong decisions or the right decisions, but whichever one it is, moving on after that. I like that answer because it's, like you said, it's trust your gut. It's almost for me, an experienced answer. Is there anything that you as a business owner feel that is non-negotiable, something that had to be true in order to make that decision? Something that's non-negotiable for you, as in, this is what I need in my finance function, or this is what I need to get out of it, and I had to get that solved in order to be able to make that decision, or I had to be convinced about something specific in order to make that decision. Or do you think it's all just, gut and intuition?
Well, I mean, for us, a big part of it was the manufacturing side. We wanted something where we could have all of our bills of material in there, and the BOMs that we could assemble and make product and track all that inventory and averaging the costs and doing that automatically. And frankly, there were the accounting side, in my opinion, is pretty easy. Everybody can do that side. The accounting, just the core accounting type stuff, but not many of these modern tech stacks are really good, I would say, at manufacturing. I find that a lot of them are geared towards more just like maybe online sales, or things like that, where they're buying product from somebody else, selling it and passing it through, and not so much geared or have the capabilities to do the manufacturing. So for us, that's really when we looked at different products out there, we wanted something that could do the manufacturing for us, and that's where we felt like Cin7 was the strongest.
Correct. Donald, something else that we're actually helping you with, that was something new for us at that stage as well, was a role embedded into Cin7, right? We just described your finance function, conventional finance, bookkeeper, controlling, CFO, but this role was support embedded within operations. What do you describe that role as? Like, what if you had to give it a title, what would you call it?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said before, I really kind of just treat your team more like an employee. And so, they're doing all sorts of stuff from us, anywhere from the controller level down to the bookkeeper level. And, and so it's really, you're my accounting team,
Right.
at the end of the day.
The two that I have is fractional operations or financial operations. Do you think one of them rings true, or do you think that's still just part of what finance?
Oh, I don't know. I would say financial operations probably is the better
Mm,
one. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah, cool. I'm always curious to hear how clients describe the work that we do. I think that for me is important to understand. Um, so we've gone through a little bit of a journey now. We touched on implementing more than one system, i.e. Cin7. We implemented Xero. We implemented Gusto, RAM. Is there anything in this ecosystem now that it's stabilized in a sense that you feel that you, from a data perspective, that you feel you get out of this that helps you make informed business decisions to run your business?
Well, I really like the monthly report that you guys provide to us that kind of give me an overview of what's happening with the company. I mean, I had that data with SAP, but when I was with SAP, I had to go in and run the reports myself, and now you guys are actually running those reports and then summarizing it into, a nice format that we can look at. And then I'm still working with your team to create additional KPIs that then they can track and provide to me on a monthly basis as well. And I think from that standpoint, the more data we get and the history behind us, the better all that will even become, because we didn't really import any history from SAP. We just started at a clean slate. In Cin7 and the new tech stack. And so the more history we get, the better that's even going to be. So,
Agreed. Agreed. Are we currently using the MRP module for
no, I don't think so.
okay, cool. And back to the business transformation, was there anything that surprised you about this, good or bad?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I went into it fully expecting that there was going to be some hiccups and things. I didn't expect it all to work, perfect from day one. So we've had a few hiccups. I mean, probably the biggest hurdle has just been getting the syncing down between Avalara for tax calculation, because the way WooCommerce goes and talks to Avalara is different than the way Cin7 talks to Avalara. And so we're limited by the way they speak to each other. And so we had to, we made some adjustments there in order to get the tax calculations correct. And I suspect over time that, either Avalara or Cin7 or everybody will get to where they're more open in how they allow to communicate. But right now they all have their specific way they want it to work. But we've been able to make it work, and it's working great. So
Yeah, beautiful. What is next for Pioneer Brands? Where to from here?
I don't know. We continue to just plug along. It's not a huge high growth company, but we grow a little bit each year, and again, our focus is just trying to get more people who are interested in opening a little business. And most of our business owners are families. So that's a great part about it, is you're dealing with people who a lot of times it's their first time to operate a business. But Porter and Cooper and I have another company that we're starting as well that we eventually will get on Cin7 and the same tech stack, I think. We just need to get a few more months of growth behind it to justify it. But so we've got some other new stuff going on as well.
Tell me just what does that venture do?
So the company is called Dopoco, Dopoco. It's actually the first two letters of all three of our names. So Donald, Porter, Cooper. but we're manufacturing flavors to sell to the coffee industry and to the dirty soda industry. Dirty soda probably doesn't mean anything on the East Coast, but in the West Coast, it's everything right now.
I've
So
heard it. I've heard it.
yeah,
So, okay. And you selling that online currently?
right now, yeah, it's primarily
Yes.
online.
Okay.
So
And someone can find that at
yeah,
thepoco.com. Good.
Dopoco.com.
Good. I want to just quickly go back to your ideal client that you feel is the right fit for iSavers, right? You spoke about potential little family business, maybe a young entrepreneur. Just speak me through who your clientele is and who do you see succeed in these smaller ventures? Like who makes it work for them?
It's interesting because it's a wide variety. I've always said that the key with tropical snow is it can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to get into the business and just be a weekend warrior and do a few events or a few things on the weekend, fairs, festivals at the park, you can do that. And then if you want to run a full-time business and buy a full vending trailer and put that in the grocery store parking lot and run it, 100 to 120 days of the summertime, it's great. Our most successful customers end up doing multiple units, so they'll run 3 or 4 locations, or they'll have 3 or 4 mobile units so they can go out and do multiple events in the weekend. But it really can be whatever they want it to be, whatever they dream it to be. I will say that today we have a lot more customers that are making their full-time living doing tropical snow. In the past, it has been just kind of a side hustle, weekend type of a thing. But more and more, it seems that people are looking for control of their own destiny and want to work their own, dream. And so there's more and more people that are doing it full time.
Love
And
it.
again, that's just hard work and go find more locations, more places to put, the product. So
Correct. That's very cool. Enabling people to essentially be the master of their own destiny. Very, 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 very cool. My final question is always around like this. If we speak about building a business, I think again you've got a few reps in by now. But what is the one thing that you always explain to people about succeeding in business?
I have a book that's my favorite book. It's called the E Myth. It stands for the Entrepreneurial Myth by Michael Gerber. And every customer that becomes a customer for Tropical Snow, we actually send them a copy of that book. We have another book called The Fred Factor. It's a book about customer service and doing things just extraordinary to make people happy. And so we send all of our customers those 2 books. Those are the 2 books, frankly, that I've lived by my whole career. The E-Myth is the book that I read when I started my first company. And it's just, he has a lot of good principles in the book because he said the problem with entrepreneurs is we're good technicians. We're good at a technical side of the business. We know how to make a certain product or, thing, but we don't really know anything about running a business. And so his whole focus is to get you to say, work on the business instead of in the business. And of course, you have to work in the business, but as an entrepreneur, he really encouraged you to say, okay, set apart time each day to work on the business. And really, he calls it the franchise prototype, but really what you're wanting to do is make that business look good, for when you get ready to sell it. I really believe that if people will work on the business rather than spending all their time working in the business, then whether they decide to sell one day or not, it doesn't really matter, but they'll end up with a better business in the end because they're thinking bigger than just a day-to-day operation. And you're actually looking and saying, okay, how do I scale this? And how do I make it attractive to someone else if they were coming in to buy it? And so I think those are just great principles to live by. If you're a small business owner, set apart time each day to work on the business and make sure you don't get caught working in the business and spending all your time just working in it, because the fun part to me is working on it and trying to figure out, okay, how do I put processes in place so this thing can run smoothly? And And that really probably is part of why I was comfortable with outsourcing all the accounting, is because I think I don't need to be an expert in everything, but I just need to find the people that can help me that are experts. And if that's whether it's outsourced or in-house, either one works.
Love it. Spot on, Donald. I think that resonates with our values of running a business as well. I think it's actually one of our, I know it's one of our values on our website is investing in all departments of the business, whether that's marketing, operations, sales, customer success. And yeah, same here. We also decided there's the partner-led model, which was the conventional model where the auditing model where you have a partner and a team and they service the clients, a lot of interaction with the clients, and then the corporation led where, me and my execs, we focus, not only us, but also some other management team members focus on other departments of the business, and which is the in it, the on it. And then we have the technical team that's solely focused on servicing the clients and being the best in their domain. So I really like how that principle can be duplicated over any business model, and yeah, really resonate with it. So I like
Yeah,
it.
well, good.
Very good. Donald, thank you so much for your time. Always good catching up with you. I'll probably come over to Salt Lake City and take you up on that golf game pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know.